Some would say that's a loss, but it's only a complete loss if you don't bounce back up or you don't learn from it.
Click, watch, and connect. Welcome to another episode of Oceanclick TV. I am Rena, and I am your host for today. Our episode is entitled Fireworks and Failures, What We've Learned from Our Biggest Mistakes. They say that every failure starts with a spark, an idea that felt thrilling or even more brilliant. So now let's rewind to that moment of ignition and unpacked what came next. We are joined today by someone who wears many hats: a devoted mother, loving wife, and a passionate business owner. And of course, she is the heart of our people. She's the Chief People Officer of Oceanclick Virtual Solutions. Now, with a warm welcome, we are so happy to have here with us Springzeal Daniel. Hello, Spring. How are you?
Hi, Rana. Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing fine.
We are so happy to have you here in Oceanclick TV. And also, you are so much known to love people, working with people in the business world. And also, I know you're such a loving, devoted mother and a wife. So I know that it didn't just, got there and happen immediately. I know you have faced a lot of failures. So we have several questions here. So we would also want to know, no? We know that this would inspire our viewers, most especially to young people who are really wanting to be in the business world. So our first question goes like this. What are your wins, losses, and learnings?
Okay, let's start there, right? Wins, losses, and learnings. I would say that let's start with the losses because when you first start, you are already imagining that you're able to do this, do that. But reality is, experience is the best teacher.
Indeed.
So I did start with having my own business at the age of, I believe, 25, around that age. And so I had all these ideas of, oh, okay, I'm gonna make it, it's gonna be good, I'm gonna do this, do that, only to, in a year's time, fail. So simply because I didn't have the experience yet. And most especially because I don't have a business background. But for me, the win there is that even if I didn't have the business background, I still tried. And so I don't consider it as a loss. I consider it like paying my tuition from business school. But instead of going to business school for 4 years, it just took me a year to learn a lot of things, especially from my mistakes. So, and it is cheaper because it's just 1 year. If you go to business school, that's like 4 years, right? 4 years plus the yearly semestral tuition. So for me, I think I just had to pay my dues to learn. So yeah, some would say that's a loss, but it's only a complete loss if you don't bounce back up or you don't learn from it. But I do believe I've learned a lot from that experience. So I say it's still a win.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And that's very beautiful to hear. Now, someone who is still in my 23 and hearing having you owning a business at 25, and then it didn't just, immediately succeeded, but yeah, look at you now. And that is actually, very inspiring.
Oh.
And for me also, I think it is never a loss because we never go out of a situation empty-handed. We always have that experience that makes us so much better.
Make us so much more, yeah.
Yeah. So Thank you so much for answering that question. So failures are always part of success, you know.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what were your immediate critical response to those experiences that went wrong?
Of course, I'm the type of person that I'm a bit stubborn. So I don't really give up that easily when there's a challenge in front of me or a hurdle. I always try to first come up with solutions because I'm the type of person that when faced with a problem, I go straight to the root cause of the problem. I really try to see what the root cause is and try to address that. Uh, and sometimes solutions need to be very creative when faced with a lot of different scenarios. So the first business I did have, it was a resto bar. So I was like the everything of it, the owner, the manager, the marketing, the cashier. The only thing I didn't know how to do was cook. And so was it the cook? I did learn how to bartend. I did wait, like I was part of the wait staff as well. So I did everything there. And so I learned a lot of skills at that time. And at that time, there was no social media, by the way. So marketing was a bit difficult. There was Facebook, but it was just starting. It was just starting. We did use that, but the location of the business was very good that people just naturally came because it was near all the other bars as well. But what I did learn, and I hope people who want to be entrepreneurs in the future, you need to know that it's not enough to have just a capital. You have to have a running capital. Obviously, as a first time business owner, I didn't know that. I just thought, okay, I have I have a capital and I can start with this and I'll just you know run by itself. Probably that's what I thought, only to find out that you have to have at least worth 6 months to 1 year running capital. So as a business owner, it's not enough that you have that, just to start. You have to make sure that it runs and you have capitalization for marketing, because you cannot expect people to just immediately line up, right? You have to make sure that you can sustain the business when people are still getting to know your business, because there's a lot of people but they need to hear about it. If your message, if your marketing doesn't reach the correct people that you are targeting, then even if you have a very good business, product, service, if it doesn't reach the right audience, then you're still not getting the business that you need to sustain or to profit from that business. So for me, it was a very difficult decision when I decided that I had to close. Okay. But before I did that, I exhausted everything, all the resources, all the networks. And I've heard from people that they thought, because I was so young, and all the other business owners who own similar businesses were like in their 40s or sometimes a lot older. And in that type of business, most, if not all of them, were men, because it was a bar, like it was resto bar. So they even visited my bar, and I've heard that they were starting to say, "Oh, well, she'll probably last 6 months, maximum 6 months." But I was able to open my resto bar for at least a year before I finally said, "Okay, this is enough." You know. So I think that shows that before giving up, it's good to really exhaust everything and find creative solutions to your problem. And this is the type of mindset that I still carry until now in all the other businesses that I'm running right now.
Wow, that is so beautiful and so inspiring. Actually, it's like all or nothing.
Yeah.
Right. So you really need to keep it going until, try and try. That's what I say, try and try until you succeed. So yeah. Now, the aftermath of every failure is where the most important growth happens next, actually. Yeah. So you've mentioned about closing your business after a year, the problem about the running capital. So based on this challenging experiences, how did it impact your business?
So, because of that experience, the next time we started another business, I made sure that, those problems that I've encountered that first time wouldn't happen again. So, taking that into consideration, I made sure that for my next businesses that there would always be a stream of income. So, for example, with Oceanclick, we made sure that our capital wasn't just to start, and we also didn't start without real clients that we were already handling. So, we had to make sure that we can sustain for at least a year, even if we wouldn't find those clients that we were looking for. Because, you know, I didn't want that same headache to happen to me. So, those are just some of the things. But another thing that was very important that I learned was that in any business, whether it's service or if it's product, it's really the people that are working in the business that's the heart of it. Because without the proper people with a proper skill set and the proper mindset and attitude, it's still gonna make or break the business. There are people that you can truly trust, and there are people that you have to be very cautious. Unfortunately, even despite all those experiences, there are still times that you'd be surprised that some of the people that you really trust could also be the people that you know kind of like make you question your ability to trust. But the thing is, I refuse for those types of people to affect my ability to trust. I Because if I remove that from me, then they win. So I want to be able to say, I will still trust. I choose to trust despite the experiences that I experience. But when they show me their true colors, I will also believe them. So I will start with trust. And so for me, when hiring, for example, in businesses, I'd rather hire based on attitude than skill,
Yeah.
to be honest. Because skill, it can be learned. With the right attitude, you can learn those skills. But without the proper attitude, without the attitude of being teachable, being able to say, hey, I'll try that. I'll try that. Even if I don't have an experience, but I'm willing to learn, I'm willing to try it. And so I think that those types of people would really go a long way. So that's why when I see that in people, those are the people that I choose to be part of the different businesses and I have. Because again, at the end of the day, businesses are run by people, and the people that we have in our team. So that was one of the very important things that I learned that now I really apply, especially here in Oceanclick.
Wow, that is so wonderful to hear. Beautiful to hear, actually. One point I would also like to highlight about, trusting people. In the business world, we will encounter a lot of people, people that we do not know, but then as time goes by, we will really know what those kind of people are. But, experiencing those moments where your trust was kind of like betrayed was actually one, I think it's also part of becoming, a good entrepreneur, a good business person. a good person, actually, because you would never know um, how to trust people. Who are the people who you need to trust?
Cheers.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it is an important skill to have if you're an entrepreneur, if you're in business, to be able to see who the people you can trust and who the people you can rely, and be cautious when people show them who they really are.
Yeah. So that is one note that we really need to take. Okay. So after all those unwanted experiences, sometimes we might think when we experience something negative, we're like, oh, should I go or should I not go? So there is always a choice.
Yes.
Now, there's a choice whether you continue or you stop. So I would like to ask you, how did those challenges or your mistakes help you stir your business to recover and to become successful and resilient?
So when I had my business, even if it was a very difficult job or work, I mean, a lot of people, they go to work, it's 9 to 5, right? You work for 9 hours, you go, you come home. A lot of people work 5 days a week. But when you own a business, you work 24/7. You work from day to night, from night to day, from Mondays to Sundays, Sundays to Mondays. You're always working. You never stop, even until you're home. So one of the things that also pushed me to just start my first business before was actually my son. He was 4 years old at that time. And then because it's a bar, so we were open at night, all through the daytime. One time he was telling me, Mom, just stay home. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna work. At 4 years old, wow. So that really broke my heart to feel that he misses me, to the point that at 4 years old, he just wanted me to stay home, and that he was already willing to work instead of me just so I can stay home.
Wow.
So that was also, if not really the biggest factor that made me decide to just stop and take a step back, because I was just like working 24/7 at that point, doing almost everything. But when I started to go into business again, I this time around, I'm quite blessed because I have my partner with me. I have my husband, and we are partners in business. And I think some of the most successful business people are those with partners. Does it matter if it's your husband or wife, or husband and husband, wife or wife? But when you do have a partner that can help carry the load, especially if you're a parent with children, it does help. So this time around, I'd say I felt more assured, because I know for a fact that in business, problems that you have never expect or never imagined would come at you. Especially with Oceanclick, when we started this, it was during the pandemic. So there were just problems that you have never imagined, hurdles that you are totally unprepared. But when you have people with you that you can rely, that you can trust, that you can brainstorm, and even during the toughest of times, they would, continue to be there. It's really helpful. A lot of people probably would think that it's better to go at it by themselves because it's difficult to trust, you know. If you have the right people backing you up, it gets you a lot further. So I do believe some of the best business people that are out there are couples or families. Really. We know this from, Rothschilds. We know this from empires of families running their businesses together. So this is also what I say from a Filipino perspective. Because in the Philippines, we do have this mentality, this crab mentality. We do have families fighting against each other, competing against each other. instead of lifting each other up. So if you look at Chinese families when they're doing their business, if you've noticed, they always lift each other up.
Yeah.
They support each other. And they are some of the most successful business families in the Philippines. And the most successful business families as well in the world. They are together. They're stronger than when they're together. So it's very important to develop partnerships. That is also one of the things that I have learned as well. So if you can have a partner or a mentor, that'll be amazing. I wish I had a mentor when I was like in my 20s, but I didn't have a mentor. I was looking for a mentor at that time, but it was quite difficult. So I also, like right now, I do want to pay it. Well, not pay it forward, but I do want people to have that. Something that I didn't have when I was starting my journey as an entrepreneur. There are people that I look up to, and it's very lucky for the new generation now because we have social media. And a lot of the entrepreneurs, they're out there, they're on social media, on TikTok and YouTube, they are giving business advice. And if you're very serious in starting your own business, you can subscribe to their pages because they do give a lot of really good advice. And they are people that have already proven that they know how to create businesses because they're there, right? So we're quite lucky in this generation to have that. But, if you can find yourself a mentor, uh, I've already heard from a lot of the podcasts that I've been watching as well, like invest in yourself. Sometimes they would even tell you like, offer your time for free to these business people who have already proven so that you can learn from them. Because I had to learn the hard way. I had to learn by failing because I didn't have that mentor. I had to go through hell myself. But if you can find the person who's willing to teach you the ropes, to show you the way, to guide you, and to connect you to other business people, then that is something that you should, volunteer yourself to. If you're really, so that's an advice that I would really give to those aspiring entrepreneurs to do that. Invest in yourself. There's a difference in mentality and I'm not saying there's anything wrong because different people have different goals in life, different dreams in life. We cannot all be entrepreneurs. We cannot all be astronauts or we cannot all be presidents, right? So this is for those who dream to be entrepreneurs. And the mindset really has to be that you have to work without looking at your watch.
Yeah.
Because all the business people that I know, they work without looking at their watch. But for those who just wants to live a life that, focused really on their family or their hobbies or passion, and they're working because it's a means to an end. There's nothing wrong with that as well because I tell you, it's not easy being an entrepreneur. You're going to have to fight battles that no one knows about. You're going to shout instead of your car. I have a car at the top of your lungs, but if that's a hurdle or if that's a problem that you're willing to face, then maybe you are meant to be an entrepreneur. But not a lot of people are willing to face those kinds of hurdles or challenges, and that's okay too, So, yeah, for me, it's a different kind of mindset. So, to people who are hesitant to start a business, the only thing I can tell them is just go jump off the cliff because that's it. You are not an entrepreneur until you have felt that fear inside your heart that you have risked everything for something that you think that you believe in, like, it's gonna work. So I think that's one thing that all business people have experienced. That moment of flight where the fear is so deep if you're gonna make it or not. So if you don't do that, you'll never become a business person.
You know, they say that good business people are good risk takers. Yeah, you just need to take the leap of faith
Yes.
and believe that you can really do it. So, let's go back to our first question on about loss. I think the loss is where when we do not try.
Yes.
Yeah, because unless you try, you'll never know.
Exactly.
So, yeah, to our youngsters, to all the people who are, having that idea, maybe I could be a good entrepreneur. So, just, go for it.
Just go for it. Really, that's really like it cannot be. You can't wait for it to be perfect.
True.
You have to jump, and that's what I've been doing with all of my businesses. For example, the most recent one because we just launched our cosmetics as well. But then, with all the copyright that's happening right now in social media, you cannot just use anybody's song. So she decided to create our own song. Okay, so really, we decided to write our own song. And so, since we need that song, we decided to sign an artist. And so I decided to create a record label just like that. Sometimes you just have to sign it.
Yeah.
You just have to sign it.
Yeah, because unless you try, you'll never know. Anyway, thank you so much, Spring, for sharing to us your story about fireworks and business. Actually, this topic is in celebration for the 4th of July.
Oh, yeah, right. And with that, I would also like to say to everyone out there who dreamt of these opportunities and actually, went all the way to the land of opportunity. Happy
At 4th of July, failure isn't the end of the story. It is often the spark that leads to real growth. On this Independence Day, remember that true freedom in business comes from learning, adapting, and rising again, stronger and smarter. Thanks for tuning in to this special episode of Oceanclick TV. Again, I am Rena. Click, watch, and connect.